Welcome back to my channel. In part 1, we covered some truly terrifying historical events, but the scares don't stop there. Today we're diving into part 2 of the top 20 creepiest historic events that are scarier than horror movies. Let's pick up where we left off. Number 10. The Curse of King Tut. There is clearly something eerie about this tale, even if you don't think in curses. When Egyptologist Howard Carter discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, some members of his team started experiencing health problems right once. Lord Carnarvon, a financier, was the first to die. He contracted blood poisoning from a mosquito bite. More participants in the dig perished within a span of 12 years, among them Richard Bethel, Carter's personal secretary. Carter passed away in 1939, over 2 decades after the tomb's opening. However, the curse is still blamed for his demise. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle became interested in the tale and connected Carnarvon's demise to legendary creatures known as elementals. Number 9. Advice to animal owners. Is it possible for you to kill your own pet? Regretfully, many people in Britain before World War II had to deal with that reality. During the war, pets were viewed as an unwelcome annoyance since they would either eat the already scarce and rationed food or wander the streets after a bombardment. A committee was established to address the issue, and their proposal was horrifying beyond belief. They distributed a brochure instructing pet owners to put their animals to sleep or release them into the countryside. Among the documents was an advertisement for a captive bolt gun that was purported to be the go-to tool for the humane killing of household pets. All told, an estimated 750,000 pets were slaughtered in a week, more than 107,000 every day. Number 8. Recycling deceased soldiers. It turns out that human bone is the best material for gardening. Over 2 million troops lost their lives during the Napoleonic Wars, and it was customary for the survivors to pillage the corpses for supplies. This involved using pliers to rip out teeth so they could be used in dentures. The denture industry benefited greatly from the Battle of Waterloo, and the ensuing products were dubbed Waterloo teeth. After the deceased had decayed, battlegrounds were also plundered for their bones, which were then pulverized into dust and sold to farmers. According to a British newspaper from 1822, human bone may be used to make substantial manure. Number 7. Knocking in space. Imagine yourself an astronaut drifting across the silent void of space in your comfortable little craft when all of a sudden you hear a knock. It's sufficient to drive you insane. Yang Li Wei, an astronaut and well-known knock hearer, fortunately did not lose his mind, but he was understandably uneasy. When Li Wei got back to Earth, he tried to recreate the banging sound, but nothing worked. Future Chinese astronauts also reported hearing the weird knocking sound, prompting some to suspect it was created by the spaceship itself. Later, the source was identified as the inner wall of the capsule changing due to variations in temperature and air pressure. Setting aside the banal explanation, we were unable to fathom the sheer horror of that encounter. Number 6. Hinterkaifeck Murderers. There are several spooky true crime tales, but there's something particularly unnerving about the notorious Hinterkaifeck killings. These happened in 1922 on a farm in Bavaria, Germany. Andreas Gruber discovered human footprints in the snow coming from the neighboring woodland to his home before the killings. The family did not call the police when they heard footsteps coming from the attic that night. All of the household members, including their maid, their daughter, and her grandchildren, were slaughtered on March 31st. It would take 4 days for anyone to find the bodies. The murderer, who is still at large, had long since escaped. This unresolved case has everything: terrible brutality, no survivors, an enigmatic culprit, and a spooky instance of home invasion. Number 5. The sad but creepy case of Henry Rathbone. Although the assassination of Abraham Lincoln is well known, not as much is known about Major Henry Rathbone's involvement. After John Wilkes Booth shot the president, Rathbone attempted to subdue Booth while he and his fiancée were at the performance. It severed his artery in the process. Rathbone lived, but he went insane because he thought he was responsible for Lincoln's passing. He abused his own children on December 23, 1883. And after his wife stepped in, he looked after her before making an unsuccessful attempt at suicide by stabbing himself. Police discovered a psychotic Rathbone in his wife's body when they got there. Number 4. Chernobyl. Throughout the spring of 1986, people all around the world held their breath, fervently praying that radiation would not overwhelm their individual regions. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant experienced a reactor explosion on April 26th that sent massive radioactive plumes into the skies. The wind then spread this radiation far and wide. On the International Nuclear Event Scale, it was assigned the highest severity, and the cleanup work that followed took years and billions of dollars to finish. Totally abandoned nearby cities are now scary ghost towns. Acute radiation syndrome also caused many people to die horribly, as their bodies shut down. Chernobyl was a nightmare come true that made millions of people fear radiation. Number 3. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius. When Mount Vesuvius famously erupted in 79 AD, the ancient Romans witnessed horror on Earth. The explosion essentially blocked out the sun by sending a huge cloud of gas and debris 21 miles into the sky. As a result, ash fell on neighboring cities, and a tsunami was created in the Bay of Naples. Later, the volcano emitted pyroclastic flows, which are essentially gas and volcanic matter clouds that are 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit and may move at speeds of up to 400 miles per hour. As a flow of pyroclastics, the flows vaporized people's organs and blood, destroying entire cities in their wake. Based on the human remains that have been found, the eruption killed at least 1,500 individuals, but most likely many more. It also buried the cities of Pompeii, Herculaneum, Oplontis, and Stabiae. The specific nature of the pyroclastic density current, in some situations it's very, very light and fluffy, but you may have temperatures from 200 degrees centigrade up to maybe 700 degrees centigrade. That's not unusual at all. Number 2. The Mary Celeste. There are several ghost ship legends, but none is quite as well known as the Mary Celeste. Built in Canada, the sailing ship was originally known as the Amazon before it was destroyed and purchased by Americans, who renamed it the Mary Celeste. The ghost ship was discovered floating off the coast of the Azores Islands on December 4, 1872. It wasn't seeping. The sails sustained damage. Those that were up and had not been furled were harmed. Apart from that, the boat's structural integrity was unharmed. The crew's possessions were still on board, the ship was in good condition, and the captain's log showed no recent events. Her provisions were also undisturbed. But since the lifeboat was gone, many people questioned why the crew had abandoned ship. Conspiracy theories, of course, still abound. And despite a lot of good explanations being proposed throughout the years, the mystery is still unresolved. However, the mystery surrounding that disastrous journey in 1872 will always plague us. The Mary Celeste's mystery will never truly be solved. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit the bell to receive updates on our most recent videos and to subscribe to our channel. You can choose to receive notifications for every video or only the infrequent ones. Make sure you turn on notifications in your phone settings while using it. Number 1. Plague, riots, and refugees. Not only was the Black Death the deadliest infectious disease outbreak in recorded human history, an estimated 30 to 60% of all people in Europe perished as a result. Really, this is where the entry should finish. However, it also evolved into what is most likely the closest approach to a real-life zombie film that we have ever encountered. According to reports, armed guards were posted nearby to prevent escape, and plague sufferers in London were quarantined within their homes. The quarantined were not happy about this, and they frequently retaliated by attacking and, in some cases, killing the guards. This resulted in the quarantining of entire neighborhoods, which only served to fuel violence and further fatalities. In the unlikely event that some plague victims managed to get out, they would have been forced to roam the countryside like zombies because no towns or villages would let them in. In many instances, the healthy even attacked them while driving. And that wraps up our countdown of the top 20 creepiest historic events. Thanks for sticking with us through both parts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling content.